A fighter trains with the best and wins with a KO. Kelly Orchard's podcast for successful badassery. Fruitful Fridays with Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day and Weekend Vibes. Let's take a bite of some Apple a Day topics. Certifying badasses, one podcast at a time.
That's right. We are certifying badasses, one podcast at a time. Kelly Orchard, the badass certifier. You know, I wanted to share a picture soon of my door. I know it's saying, what? No, it's like, so here at Michelle's place, the doors here are glass doors. So, they're solid frame, but the glass in between. And so I have a privacy curtain for obvious reason. On my door, but they've been giving everybody like a sticker, that can go on your door with your name on it. And so I gave them my logo, my Kelly Orchard logo, and the sticker just was put on the door the other day, and I'm dying to take a picture of it and show it, but I have to get some other thing so you can see it, because I don't know, the door has a white background. It's nuts. I'm sorry. It's Fruitful Friday, and I think I'm already headed into the weekend, to be honest with you. I didn't make a big script today because I just had something fresh on my mind, and just kind of wanted to get off my chest, because it was timely. It's like, how can you feel content in the midst of all this chaos that's going on in the world? Now, like I said, I don't talk about what's actually happening out there, because we all have our different perspectives and opinions, and this is not a news or political show. So this is a successful badassery show. So, but the thing is that I'm not oblivious that, man, there's a lot of stuff going on, and so I was just kind of asking myself that question: how do people remain content when the future seems so uncertain? No matter what it is, no matter which direction you're looking at, it all seems chaotic and uncertain and completely upside down. So how do you remain at least somewhat content in all of this chaos? What tools do you need for that? And I keep going back to my music and, some of my routines that I do. And, that's what I wanted today's Fruitful Friday to be about, because, you got to go back to the fundamentals, the basics, what works for me. So, here's the things that work for me, and I share it pretty openly. It's like, I have faith. Thank God for that. I'm very grateful for that. So I pray a lot, and I just trust. That's one of my biggest and probably the best tool that I can employ. But when you don't have that kind of faith, or you're not ready for something like that, what are some of these other tools that you can employ? Well, you can also always challenge your automatic negative thinking. We do, and I say this as natural human beings go to that worst case scenario. I don't know why. I don't know if they've actually said why. They say it's because of our upbringing or however. And, I remember learning in grad school that, we're pretty much screwed right as soon as we get out of the womb, because the parenting or the mothering or the nurturing that we get outside of the womb is what's going to set us up for the rest of our lives. So regardless of if your mother was, like a helicopter mother, or tried to show you some independence, either way we're going to be messed up. But I think it's human nature, maybe just because of gravity. Just think about it. It's easier to go down than it is to go up. So I think that our mindset and our mood and our thoughts automatically go to the negative. Maybe it's a self-protection. So I wanted to just share. It's like, what do you do to remain somewhat content with your life as it is? Because that's the only way you're going to survive. And then in order to thrive, you have to get down to some fundamentals. I've been talking to a friend of mine about a new business venture, and, more to come on that later. Something really fun, a collaborative endeavor. I'm super excited about it, but not ready for, public knowledge yet. But, and basically it's talking about, the appreciation of, kind of doing those mundane tasks of your day, or having some sort of a routine that provides you the basics, the fundamentals. Like, so for me, it is journaling. And, I had gotten into the habit I shared a while back about doing talk to text into my phone, and then printing up the pages and then pasting them actually into my journal. It's out of control. just this week at the, I've been facilitating a grief class, and we're wrapping up. Next week is the final week. And so we were sharing about different things that had been going on, and, and somebody who had recently passed, who had started a journaling support group here at Michelle's place. And so it got onto the topic of writing and using that as a tool and a mechanism, especially when you're grieving, it's getting those emotions out of your body. It's very important. We talk about it, and I didn't make up this concept or this analogy. I don't even know where it originated from, but it is very poignant. Is that if you're holding down some of the chaos in your heart, in your brain, in your family, you're just kind of trying to hold it underwater, as if the problems are like a beach ball that you're holding underwater, your emotions, your feelings, the stuff that you're stuffing down. Eventually, that beach ball is going to burst through the surface, and you don't know how you're going to react or respond when that occurs. So what I wanted to share with this grief class last night, it was a completely different type of audience, different stories and different recollections. When I'm out speaking or presenting the badass concept, I'm usually talking to business people or organizations or, things like that, Rotary clubs, business people. But this was not a business event. This was a grief support group, but we were talking about the importance of journaling and processing through your feelings. And so journaling for me is one of the tools that I employ. So what might work for you? It could be, exercise. It could be taking a jog. It could be talking to a friend, somebody, a confidant that you trust that's just going to let you just vent. It could be, starting some new project that helps you to focus on something new and different. And those are also one of the things that I also love to employ. Hey, that was the origin of this, not only of License to Be Badass. Last night I was able to share the whole origin with this group, but even this podcast, which has evolved, a year or so later from when I started the Badass certification class. There's an evolution that has gone on with this process. And it's because I am a writer, not because I'm trying to be rich or famous, and I'm not trying to be popular or, relive my glory days of being a radio personality. No, it's just that I did over time in my life, in my career, develop certain skill sets. And so now I'm thankful and grateful that I have gone through some learning processes and still, invested a little bit more in my skill sets so that I was able to create this kind of a podcast to complement what I'm already doing. That's how I remain content in all of this chaos. Because, the content that I do is all positive psychology. It's all neuroscience. It's all very interesting to me. So it helps me to keep my mind off of the problems and onto other positive things. Does it mean that I am ignoring my problems? No, I share that somewhat openly with you, that I'm caring for my parents, and it has gotten to the point where it's necessary that we have a regular paid caregiver come and assist with some of these complications that I have recently discovered that are quite overwhelming. But now I have this podcast, and this is a therapeutic tool for me. Some people, it's dance class. That's another thing I've been talking about with my friend, is that we both want to take ballroom dancing because it's something that we've never taken up or learned how to do, and it's learning new skills. So as you get older, you will never age if you constantly learn new skills. And that's sort of what the point is today, because we really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day or the next day. We keep waiting for some sort of resolution or this all to be over with and we go back to normal life. Do you really feel that there's something normal going to occur now after all of this time? So let's figure out a way to be content in our current circumstances while we try to navigate a path to maybe something new and fresh. I know that some of the plans and goals and actions that I was taking prior to all of this don't even serve me anymore. like going and being traveling, speaking at big events, but traveling to go do them all over the country or internationally. I thought I wanted to do that, be, that road warrior, traveling and sharing the good news and certifying badasses. My goal was to certify 1 million badasses. But now it's like, I have my parents and I have Michelle's place and I love it here. And I don't want to be like gone all the time. I'd like to participate in what they have going on here. My heart changed. My heart has changed many times over the course of my life. Sometimes, it was a failure that I didn't plan, or that was even my fault, like my heart failure. So how do you remain content in this time? But if you're here on this podcast and you're listening, and first of all, thank you for, clicking yes and saying, yeah, I want to hear that podcast. What are you doing to help you remain just content and happy? It's like, so like I said, I'm wrapping up this 8-week grief class here at Michelle's place. And, the stories that we tell are turning up different stories, different reasons to have that recollection. So I was very thankful the other night to be able to share the whole License to Be Badass process and the Badass soundtrack concept to a different type of audience, because it was relevant, because it came out of my grief work process I was doing with my dad after my brother Brad died, which he died 6 years ago. I've lost 2 brothers. And so my brother Brad died 6 years ago. And a few years ago, my dad and I were working on some projects. I've shared that in previous podcasts. So if you've already heard the whole story, I won't bore you with it. But if you would like to hear the whole story, please just scroll back. Probably in January is when I would share this story. It was at the very beginning. I would have told you the origin. And it's always good content and it's relevant. So you'll enjoy just spending a little bit more time with me. Just scroll back on the podcast, Okay, so I do have some apples for you on this Fruitful Friday. I'm getting the Apple a Day podcast is evolving constantly. And I share about the details with that. And of course, Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day. How could I not have something like that, right? And they are just 60 seconds, and it's on wisdom, success, and personal growth. And I have themes that I created while I was writing and producing these. And it's been, like I said, it's been an evolution over the course of quite a few years. Now they're also books, and some radio stations across the country are airing them on the radio. But for the podcast, I keep the original content up on the podcast, and you can subscribe to Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day on the same podcast platform that you're listening to the podcast for Successful Badassery. So but the thing is that these are already produced. I don't have to even think about them. It's another therapeutic process for me. So the other day I was getting them uploaded and ready to just, pre-scheduled so I don't have to worry about them for another month. It's nice. It really is. It only takes me a couple of hours and then it's done. And then I can just focus on this podcast. So this is sort of my therapeutic process, it's the basics. It's the fundamentals. It's just how you find contentment in all of the chaos that's going on, or how I slow down my thoughts, my brain, and I focus on a task that actually needs me to pay attention, because it is technology, which is not my area of expertise, but I've learned. And so it's something that it's something that I had to get out of my comfort zone and experience. And so the reason I'm sharing with it is because this month, right now, I'm focusing on the theme of having an extraordinary life. I did that with you in mind, so I hope that you will listen to it. But I've got a couple of apples that I just kind of picked. I love the metaphors, to share with you today for Fruitful Friday. So, most of us really do want to live extraordinary lives, but often get caught up comparing our lives to others. Is it wealth that makes one extraordinary? Fame? A high intelligence? Is one only extraordinary if they travel the world or become an award-winning athlete, actor, or politician? What constitutes extraordinary? How about you? Are you ordinary or extraordinary? In his book, Success is Not an Accident, Change Your Choices, Change Your Life, author Tommy Newberry writes, if you want to lead an extraordinary life, find out what the ordinary do and don't do it. What are the odds of someone being exactly like you? Scientists estimate that the probability of you being born exactly as you are with your DNA, personality, intellect, skills, interests, and such is about 1 in 400 trillion. Think about that for a moment. 1 in 400 trillion. You are already extraordinary just by being born. Now stop comparing yourself to others and make a choice to grow into your extraordinary existence today. It's not just about wealth, fame, or extraordinary smarts, because you are already extraordinary. It's time for you to be it. Now, I don't believe that there's such a thing as an ordinary life. We are all extraordinary because we are an amazing miracle, just as we are. But you have to follow your heart in order to truly live that which is extraordinary in you. How extraordinary is it to blame others when things don't turn out the way you'd hoped? How will you become the extraordinary success that you want to be if you don't step out with courage and follow a consistent path? When you set out to live an extraordinary life, there are going to be hills, valleys, win some, lose some experiences, and great loss, achievement, gain, and failure. That's what makes your life so extraordinary. If you aren't going to make the time to create the extraordinary life that you really want, you will eventually be forced to spend a great deal of time dealing with a life that you don't want. Author Paulo Coelho wrote, "You will never be able to escape your heart, so it's better to listen to what it has to say." Follow your path toward your extraordinary life. It will begin when you follow your heart. Now, also, it's human nature to want to be happy. Many people seem to pursue happiness in just about any form imaginable. What does happiness mean to you? Does happiness mean romantic love, marriage, and creating a family? Does it mean career and financial success? Does happiness mean having a lot of friends or traveling the world? Maybe happiness to you might mean quiet solitude. Does the actual pursuit of happiness wear you out or cause you to feel like it's unachievable because you haven't found it yet? Philosopher Peter Duvanov says, if you pursue happiness, you are an ordinary person. If happiness pursues you, you are an extraordinary person. Do not chase happiness. Let it chase you. Personally, I love this philosophy. Let happiness pursue you. Don't chase it. Find happiness in your current circumstances and be the extraordinary person that happiness chases after. All right, so weekend vibes on this Fruitful Friday. I didn't share any articles today. I don't even have a script except for those apples that I just shared with you. Why? Honestly, I feel like my head's about to explode. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm not going to have a mental breakdown. I already had that. I focused on my emotions, but, as I sort of like lay out in order, or the things that I'm trying to manage and take care of, I realize that sometimes I overplan, and I try to be, too precise. And it's often the times that just sharing what's on my heart, the ad lib about in the moment, is what is best. My clients love this about me, and sometimes they say I'm a bit psychic, and I know I'm very intuitive. I don't necessarily. The term psychic is weird, but I'm not saying I'm psychic. But I listen. That's a skill, that I've developed. I can't say I always was a listener, because, one of the things that we do as humans is we often listen to somebody complain or tell their problems with what in mind is how we're going to help them solve it, or what kind of advice we're going to give them. And it's as when I started learning to have advertising sales, that's when I first learned my, listening skills, the active listening skills. And then later in life, when I went to grad school for psychology, and I'm learning about, the psychological processes, and active listening is really key. And I realized that these psychological principles are used in every coaching program, every sales training program, every leadership program. So what are you waiting for? It's easy for me to say, what are you waiting for? But if you're at a point now where you're at the D in badass, which is you're going to make a decision that you need to make some changes. And this is one of the The biggest blessing about what I do with my clients is when you see that they are making progress. They are making small, incremental changes that have consequently improved their life little by little. And then you get a chance to reflect with them, and they have this aha, like, I can't believe I'm this far along from where I was then. And this weekend, take some time to self-reflect on where you are now, but also self-reflect on where you were a year ago. And then ask yourself, are you in the same place? Are you better off? Are you worse off? And I don't mean about what's going on in the news or politically. I just mean in your mental health, in your job, in your work, and in your personal life. Where are you? How are you doing? If you feel like you're in that negative downward spiral, I want to encourage you to stop and just have that awareness that, okay, and then you go back to the D and make a decision that you want it to change. Now you get to control that, and you get to be extraordinary. Stop comparing yourself to what everybody else is doing. Just listen to your heart, and you know what you need. And if you don't know what you need, hey man, I got the tools for you. Seriously. Now here comes a little sales pitch. I'm only slightly joking, because you know what I'm going to be working on this weekend, Fruitful, for my weekend vibes. I got a badass certification class that I've already scheduled here at Michelle's place in a couple of weeks, and I would love for you to come. If you're local in Temecula, because it's going to be in person, not an online one. If you're interested in an online one, I have one. You can shoot me an email at kelly@kellyorchard.com, and I'll fill you in. But an in-person one is coming up. And, we're looking for people who want to hop on the bus to Badassville because they know they need a positive attitude adjustment. And I call this class CPR for your mental health, because it doesn't get you the whole license to be badass diploma, which I do have when you go through my entire program, which, is 5 different modules with like 5 or 6 different videos and worksheets that take you through the process of, mindset and, self-care and achieving goals and having a vision and writing a mission statement. I take you through a process that gets you through this point where you're going to be living successfully badass. I use myself, yes, as an example, because I couldn't do it without these tools that I have used and put in my toolbox for the last 15 years. Did I have these tools before? No. Can I identify some of the poor choices and mistakes that I made? Yes. Would I want to repeat them? No. Would I want to help you prevent you from, continuing to make poor choices in your life that don't align with what you want? That's the point. It's like a choice is a choice, and it's yours to make. But if the choice that you're making is not aligning with what you really want, then you're only prolonging your misery. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe misery is your goal. I don't know. It's not mine, at least not anymore. I mean, that's a victim mentality, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you agree? I'm miserable, so therefore I'm a victim. So please feel sorry for me. I know that people have genuine mental health issues. I'm not being dismissive or comical about it, but I am going off the cuff today because so much comes at me these days. In my psychotherapy practice, even when I walk out my office door into the world of Michelle's place, and I can sense things, and this is a really great energy and vibe here, but they've also got people coming in with different kinds of cancers who have just been diagnosed, looking for support, and then all the people who work here have families and lives and things that they're juggling. And then you walk outside of Michelle's place and you see the whole world around you, and everybody's got some sort of chaos or crises that they are trying to work through. You're not alone. I'm not alone. But I'm giving you some tools. So yeah, the Badass certification class is coming up. If you want to get on the bus to Badassville, I would encourage you to please reach out to Badass Jen. That's right. Badass Jen is she's my badass branding strategist, and she's sort of handling all the details for me. It's a wonderful thing. So her email address is badassjen@licensed2bebadass.com, just like, the logo that you see. Badass Jen, Jen, at licensed2bebadass.com. Send her an email, and because the bus is filling up and it's limited seating, so it's not unlimited, and proceeds are going to Michelle's place. So it's also a little bit of a fun fundraiser, and so I'm going to be certifying some badasses. It's like CPR for your mental health. I promise I will give you one specific tool that will help you navigate the waters of whatever you're got going on right now, and then it gets you stepping in the right direction to increasing some positivity in your life, which is what we all need right now. It'll really help you feel better, I promise. All right, so it's Fruitful Friday, and you can always go to licensed2bebadass.com and get on my email list and download the Badass Habits ebook. Lots of things going on in my life, lots of changes, and that's why today I wanted to just kind of talk about contentment and how can you find your way to be content in times when it's chaos. Well, you got to go back to the basics, some fundamentals. Whatever worked for you before will work again. So what was it that was working? For me, journaling really helps me process my thoughts and feelings. Of course, music and dance is one of my favorite go-tos, just to kind of get my body moving and getting my thoughts processed on something else. I love to use music to stir up those happy, warm memories. So obviously, I go back to some childhood stuff because it's fun. So I would encourage you to do that. Do some music discovery this weekend. Play some music you haven't played in a long time. The other night at the grief class, we were talking about that, the different genres of music and appreciating different time frames and periods and listening to the music of our loved ones that have passed on. And obviously that's what I do a lot of, and I'm teaching these individuals in this grief class to appreciate the same content because it does help you feel better, and it is scientific, no joke. But I've been telling you about this all through the podcast. So I would love to invite you, if you're new to the podcast, you're just discovering it because you clicked a link, thank you. But there's a whole bunch of them that I've done since January, and I would love for you to get caught up on the bus to Badassville. So take it away, Mr. Ocean.
You've heard about the bus to Badassville. What happens when you find yourself aboard? Just what you'd hoped for. You will be given proven skills and drills that you use to flip your fears with powerful thinking ideas and take charge of a thoroughly badass attitude. The bus to Badassville is scheduled to come here for you. Pack your stuff. Remember, you have a free badass ebook coming when you drop in on licensed2bebadass.com.